supplies, we're going to need some yarn of your choice, a crochet hook to go with it, a pair of scissors, a sewing needle with a large eye, and a calculator. Need a button about 1/2 inch across, any colour that you like, and also a crochet hook that is 2 sizes smaller than the one that you make for your hat. So as you can see, it's quite a bit smaller. And you also need a tape measure. First of all, we can make a magic ring, or we can use the chain 4 and join method to make your little circle. Completely up to you, whatever you feel comfortable with. We're going to chain 1, that's just to step us up, and then we're going to work 8 half double crochets into the centre of the ring. That's yarning over, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3, yarn over, go into the centre, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. So we're going to work 8 of those. Then if you use the magic ring, just pull that closed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to join into the first half double crochet stitch, ignoring the chain 1, so just joining into there, working a slip stitch. Then we're going to work a chain 1. We're going to be working the chain 1, but we're not going to be actually counting it as a stitch throughout the pattern. It's not going to, it basically won't exist. We won't be paying any attention to it, but we just need it to step up to the next part of the row. So we're going to work a half double crochet into the same stitch, and we're going to work another one into the same stitch. So that's classed as an increase because we worked 2 half double crochets into the same stitch. Into every stitch around, we're going to work 2 half double crochets. And we should have 18 stitches. 1, 2, 3. So that's number 17 and number 18. Then we're going to join into the first half double crochet stitch, and not the chain 1. So we're not going to join into the chain 1. We go into the top of the half double crochet stitch, and then joining our round. We're going to work a chain 1, half double crochet into the same stitch. Into every second stitch we'll be working an increase. So going into that one, working an increase, that's 2 half double crochets, into the same stitch. 1 into this one, 2 into the next, two into the next, and 1, and then 2, 1, and 2 into here. So you're going to repeat that around, working an increase, so 2 half double crochets into every second stitch. And with this pattern, each row ends on an increase. So if you get to the end of the row and you're not on an increase, you'll know something's wrong. So you've either done the row that you just did, that we've just done, that would be wrong, or it could even be on the row below. So just check your stitches and make sure you've got them all sorted. So now we're going to join into the first half double crochet, so going under both loops, join with a slip stitch, chain 1, half double crochet into the same stitch. And if you've watched my double crochet hat where we work the chain 3, but when we come back around we slip stitch into the first double crochet, this is using that same sort of method. It's just with a half double crochet stitch. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put the link below in the description box. What we need to do now is work 1 half double crochet into the next stitch. And now we're going to be working an increase into every third stitch. So we've got 1, 2, this is our third stitch, so we're going to work an increase, so that's 2 half double crochets. So that's 1 by itself. That's now the next one is our third stitch, so we're going to work 2 half double crochets. One into the next one, into our third stitch we're going to work 2 half double crochets, 1 into the next one, 1 into the next one, and into that third stitch 2 half double crochets. We're going to repeat this around till we get back to the beginning of the round, up to the end of the round, so that's an increase. If you haven't ended up on an increase, you'll know something's wrong. Then we're going to join to the first half double crochet, and you can see that the seam there is looking great. I've definitely done this before. You've made those hats when the seam and you go, oh dear, what's going on there? And it looks terrible because the seam is just ugly. But this one will give you a seam that is almost invisible. You'll still be able to see it, but you won't have those ugly holes. And if you're adding eyes, or if you're adding, making a character hat of some description, and you're adding all things all over it, you're going to be covering up the seam pretty well, so it'll look really good. So next one, I'm going to chain 1, half double crochet into the same stitch, and on this row it's going to be in every 4th stitch we're going to work a increase. So that's 1, whoa, ugh. That's 2, 3, and into the 4th stitch we're going to work an increase, so that's 2 half double crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3, and in the 4th stitch we're going to work an increase. One. I'm just going to pull that back. I don't like how that stitch has gone really loose there. So where was I? Increase 1, 2, 3. Increase 1, 2, 3. So that was an increase. Sorry about that, guys. That looks better, doesn't it? So it's 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. So repeat that around into every 4th stitch, put an increase in, and I'll meet you back when we get back to the beginning of the row. It's not the row, it's the round, because we're working in the round. So if I say row, ignore me, it's the round because we're working around. A row is when you work backwards and forwards. So did you end on an increase? I did, so I know I've done that row correct. And trust me, I do have times when I don't end on an increase and I have to rip the row out. There we go again, it's the round, rip the round out. And actually yesterday, when I was making a practice run for this, I made the hat too big. It was huge. That'll teach me for just eyeballing it and not measuring it as we go. So speaking of measuring, this is how we're going to get a hat that's going to be a pretty good fit. And this is what I should have done yesterday and I didn't. Getting your calculator, I have my trusty piece of paper that if you've watched enough of my videos you'll recognise this piece of paper. This is how we get a measurement for a hat, and it's going to be a pretty close fit. If you don't know measurements, I have a chart on my website. I will put the link below, and that will give you the age of the child. So if you know the age of the child, that's pretty easy, and then it will give you a rough measurement of that age group, and you can use that as a guide. So what we need to do to work out the circumference. Okay, so measure across your hat, which is what it says here, measure across your hat. And also, we're going to need a tape measure. So I'm going to have to run off and get mine. I'm back. Did you miss me? So grab your tape measure and we're going to measure across the hat. So I've got my tape measure lined up with the middle of the hat. And this works for inches or centimetres. So my hat is 11 centimetres across. So it says measure across your hat and multiply by 3.142. So I have 11 centimetres times by 3.142 equals 34.562 centimetres. So we'll just drop the last two numbers off. So if I stop now and I continue on just with no increasing, my hat will roughly fit a head of 34.5 centimetres. Looking at my trusty notes I've got scribbled here. Now these notes are all in the document that's on my website with the link below in the description box. 34 centimetres, which is what we've got here, will fit approximately a newborn baby. So if I continue on with this little tiny thing here, which is so adorable, and don't do any more increasing, this is basically going to fit a newborn baby. But I want this to fit a bigger kid. So the child I'm going to make this for is, actually, the child I'm going to make this for is me. I'm going to make it for me. So I need to increase a lot more to get, my head is actually 58 centimetres, so I need to increase my crown a lot more. So I'll show you how to add more increased rows. And from memory, I need to keep increasing until this is 18 centimetres. Because the other way you can work it out, if you already know your head measurement, so my head measurement is 58 centimetres, divide it by 3.142. Yeah, may as well say 18.5 centimetres. So that's the size I need across there. So if you already know your circumference, it's your circumference, so 58, or inches, whatever you're measuring in, divided by, so divided by 3.1, was it 142? So 18.5. So I need to keep increasing until I have 18.5. So our next round, I got it right, I said round. Yeehaw! I'm going to join this. And our next round, so you may have noticed a pattern. On the row down here we had an increase, and in between the increase stitches we had one half double crochet. Where are we? I'm trying to find it. Okay, there. So here's an increase. We've got 2 stitches. 1, 2, then 1 there, and then an increase there. So there's 1 stitch in between our increase. On the next row, we've got an increase here. So a little V there, that's an increase. 1, 2, and then an increase. Our next row, we've got increase here, and then 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. So in our next row, we know we need 4 in between our increases. So chain 1, half double crochet, and on each row as we go around, so there we go again, on each round as we go around, we are going to have 1 more half double crochet added to the bits that are in between our increases. So what have we got on the row below? 3. So we need 4 now, so that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. They're all by themselves. Into the 5th stitch we're going to work a increase. So that's 2 half double crochets. So then we're going to work 4 half double crochets by themselves. That's 3, and that's 4, and then an increase. So we need 4, so that's 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then an increase. So we're going to repeat this all the way around until we get back to the beginning. Once we get to the end, finish on an increase, and then we're going to slip stitch to the first half double crochet. Don't forget to keep measuring your hat if you're making it for a smaller person, so you're making it for a baby or someone with a smaller sized head. You're going to keep measuring. I would measure each row because, say it again, I'm going to tell myself off in a minute, I'm going to have an argument with myself. Each round, because we're adding so many increases, it will make a difference to the size of your hat. That one round can make such a difference in the sizing of your hat. If I do 5 stitches in between my increases, and I actually did 6 in between my increases for myself yesterday when I was saying it was too big, and it was huge just by the extra amount of extra round of increasing. Ah dear. Chain 1 and half double crochet into the same stitch. So what we need on this round, 1, 2, 3, 4, we need 5 in between our increases. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase. So I think you will have the hang of it now. You'll know if you need to do any more increasing, that what you need to do. So I'm just working my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then my increase. Now if you're making a hat and you find that if you do 4 in between your increases and you work 3 in between your increases, and the 3 in between your hat comes out too small, and the 4 in between your hat comes out too big, what you can do is, so you've done you'll do the smaller size that wasn't working, so that's 3 in between your increases. Then what you can do is work, say, 4 even increases around your hat. So you could do, so that's where we start. You could do 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and 1 when you come back to join. And that will give you sort of a size in between the one that was too big and the one that was too small. You can also change the size of your hook. If your hat is coming out too big, you can use a smaller hook to make it turn out smaller. If your hat is coming out too small, you can use a bigger hook to make it come out bigger. So there are plenty of different ways. It's a matter of getting used to the yarn that you're using and finding the formula that works for you. Making hats is not a simple science. I still have problems, like yesterday, making hats that don't fit. So once you get a formula that works, write down what yarn you're using, write down the crochet hook size that you've used, and also write down the age, the amount of increasing that you've done, like how many stitches you've got in between your increasing. Write down everything, that way you won't forget. See if you need to make another one, you're ready to go. And you won't have to guess to make a hat that's too big like I did. I talk a lot, I know I do, but I'm trying to give you as much information as I can through all the years that I've learned from making mistakes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got an increase, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then an increase. Okay. Now I'm going to keep increasing mine. I won't show any more rows of the increasing because I'm sure you've got it by now. Every row you add one more stitch in between your increases, and I will catch up with you when we're ready to start the sides of the hat. Okay, so I've increased as much as I want, and what we need to do is now make the sides of the hat, and you can see my little picture here. Look like I've drawn myself an alien. But what we want to do is make the hat until it reaches to basically our eyebrows or just below our eyebrows once you've put the hat on. And that's when we make this middle section and then start to make the face section. On my adult size hat, using this amount of increases, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 half double crochets in between my increases up here. And I'm just looking on the one that I made for a test. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 rows. My head is 58 centimeters. People sort of had all different sort of sizes and shapes of heads, but that's how many rows I did. So that's how many rows I know I need to do again, because I need to make one exactly the same size. So to work the sides of our hat, and this hat, it's going to be good if you can actually measure someone that you're making it for. Otherwise, you're going to have to guess how many rows you're going to make. So we do our normal chain 1, and then we half double crochet into the same stitch. And now we're just going to half double crochet in every single stitch around. There's no more increasing at all. And when we get to the end of this round, we are going to slip stitch to join, just like we have done on previous rows of our hat. There's nothing different there. It's just there's no more increasing as we work our way around. So I'm going to work the amount of rows rounds that I need, and I will meet up with you when I have the sides of my hat complete. Once we have the length of our hat complete, now this will be shorter than a normal hat. I have 10 rows of no increasing. What we're going to do is just fold our hat in half where our yarn is, where the beginning of our row is. Don't pay any attention to that. I actually ran out of yarn, had to join some more in. And if you've got a stitch marker handy, which I do, which is good, you don't need a stitch marker, but I'm just going to place that on the front, because where our yarn is joined is going to be the back, and I'm just going to place that on the front. I'll just like roughly line it up with this part where it's joined. This is approximately halfway across. What we're going to do is crochet around. So if we flip our hat over, this bit where the stitch marker is where our nose is going to be. I've used 4 stitches for my nose section. This is for an adult, so if you're making it for a child, I'd probably suggest 3, maybe 2 that's for a really small child, because just with the 4 stitches that was almost too much for me. But yeah, you don't need very many stitches at all. So the middle 4 stitches here will be for our nose, and then we're going to leave some stitches vacant, and that is going to be for our eyes. I left 6 stitches vacant because, and also remember when we do the eyes, we've got that black bit that goes around it, so you want to leave enough room so that when we put a black thing around it, we don't actually crochet it so small that our eyes are not going to be able to see through it. So you want to make it sort of half an inch, maybe not quite half an inch, maybe a third of an inch, or about 1.5 centimeters wider than you actually need it, because when you do your row of single crochet around for the black, it's going to make the hole smaller. So crochet around your hat until you get the amount of stitches that you want before the stitch marker. So for me that's going to be 4 stitches, so there's 2 on the side of the stitch marker and then about 6 stitches, so 8 stitches before my stitch. So I've crocheted around and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 6 will be for my eye, and then I've got yep, so that's about right. You've got about 8 stitches. This doesn't have to be perfect because when you put it on, it's going to sit properly on your face. It doesn't matter if the back's not lined up exactly to the front, if you know what I mean. So when we get to the distance that we want to leave, so I've got 6 stitches for my eye and then 1 or 2 for my nose piece, we're actually going to finish off this row. So we're going to cut our yarn and then pull our yarn out like that. Then I'm going to count across my 6 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to join in my yarn. And if you've got a spare bit of yarn for this bit, you're not going to need very much because we're going to cut it off after we've done our nose piece. You could use that right now. So chain 1, half double crochet into the same stitch. And I'm going to use 4 stitches for my nose piece. So that's 1. I'm actually going to try and crochet over that too. So that's 2, 3, and 4. Then we are going to turn our work, chain 1, half double crochet into that same stitch, and in each stitch across. So if you did 4 stitches, you're going to work across those 4 stitches, and that's it. That's it for the nose piece. Because on our next section that we do, one of the next sections we do, we actually come across and crochet into there. So we're actually going to add a 3rd row to that, but we only want to put 2 there. So cut off your yarn. We do have a few ends to sew in on this project, but it's completely worth it. So now turning your hat back so that where you finished off is over there. You've got your centerpiece, and then the amount of stitches that we skipped, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Join your yarn back over this side. We're going to chain 1 and then half double crochet around. Work over your tail if you can. And we're going to continue around till we get back to the beginning, and it's where we've started off our row at the back of the hat there. So when I went around to the back, I joined, I did my chain 1 and half double crocheted around, and now I'm at the front of the hat, so I'm back to where the nose piece is. And what we need to do is crochet across So that's that where we finished off before. Now the amount of stitches that you skipped here, that's the amount of chains that you're going to work. So I did 6. Then across to the nose piece, we need to work however many stitches we did. So I had 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 6. Of course, if you have a different amount for your eye gap, you're going to use a different amount. And then we're going to half double crochet into that stitch there. So now we have, making sure those ends are out of the way, we have our eye holes. So now what we're going to do is half double crochet around. We're going to join when we get back to the beginning of the row, chain up 1, and then crochet around again, and then I'm going to meet you when we get to this section here and I'll show you what to do. So once we get around to where the chain stitches are, we're going to work the amount of chains that we did. We're going to work that amount of stitches. So I had 6 chains, but I'm actually going to work into the back bump. Normally you would work into the front of the, well, into this part of the chain, going in this side, but we're going to turn it over and work into the back bump. Working our stitch. You don't have to use the back bump, that is completely up to you. And it seems that I've missed one because I have this gigantic hole. Oop. See how that one goes. That looks better. Took me a while to get the hang of this, so I don't know why. I think because I'm so used to looking at it at the different, like the other way. I don't normally go into the back bumps, so it just looks just weird to me. But you can teach an old dog new tricks. As you can probably tell, I'm still a little bit struggling a little bit. Okay, so we're going to work across. This would be a lot easier if I wasn't sitting in my camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's gone really loose. Okay, so now we're going to work our half double crochets across. 3 and 4. I just need to sew those in, so we'll get them out the back. And then we're going to repeat the same into these chains and then work our way around, and then I will meet up to you. You're going to join at the beginning of the round and then you're going to crochet around until we get back to the eye, and I'll meet up to you. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to crochet all the way across, and from now on we're just working rounds of crochet, like we did to form the sides of the hat. And on my practice piece I made 10 rows in between when we stop increasing down to the eyes, and I added my eye section, and then from this row I added another 9 rows, so I had 10 rows altogether underneath my eyes. So I'm going to add I'm going to add 9 rows, and then what we do on our last 1 or 2 rows is we actually decrease it just slightly, because we want it to be sort of shaped underneath the chin, but we can't decrease it too much, otherwise we won't be getting it onto our head. So I'm going to make 8 more rows. So I've got this row, this will be number 1. This is number 1, this is number 2. I want 8 in total, and this basically brings down my mask to my chin. Okay.